Hello, welcome. Today I want to do something a little different than I've done before. I've been wanting to make this video for well over a year now, and what I want to do today is review my first coloring book. This was a pipe dream I've had for years, ever since I developed my weird doodly, kind of wacky art style. I've always thought this would make interesting adult coloring books, and then I started it and then dropped it before restarting it a few years later, and it took a little over a year to get published from start to finish, and I really wanted to review it, the final product, because one, your first of anything is never going to be perfect, and it's always good to look back on what you've done to see what you can improve and where you've learned and grown. So let's talk about it. I want to break this up into three things: the art, the formatting, and what I would want to improve. So let's start with the art. So the art in this book, I did a bunch of hand-drawn ink drawings. I have the originals still, some of them colored, some of them still blank, and I did the art custom for the cover. So all of the artwork was either hand drawn or is the color inverse of a hand drawn piece. So art wise, I think it came out really good. It has a lot going for it and has a lot that I really believe came out perfectly. I came up with new patterns and unique ways of doing my art style, and there are some art pieces or drawings in there that I really enjoy how they turned out. So I think the art is great, but the presentation of the art in the book, the cover, I think the cover art is fine. The text, it was added by the publisher, so I did not do that myself. All my future books, I did do that myself. But for this book, the print-on-demand self-publisher I went through did that for me. And they also formatted the interior for me. And image-wise, the scans are not great. I went to Staples and used their scanners, and I didn't scan them all in one batch. So the scan quality kind of fluctuates based off the image, the images you or like which image and which batch I scanned it from, it drastically changes the quality of the image. So I think some turn out perfect, flawless, and great. And then some of the other ones really need some improvement. One thing that I have improved since is the whole post scan editing. All the images I edited, the scan didn't get the blacks as saturated as I wanted. And of course, all the images, I made a copy that it was color inverted. So that way you get the best of both worlds with each drawing. The only thing was, I didn't do them all in one batch like the scans. So half the images are beautiful, they're dark, they're saturated, they're wonderful. And the other half are like washed out and gray because I didn't increase the color saturation when I did those ones. So the DPI on these images isn't as high as it should be. The consistency isn't through the book. If they were all slightly gray or all really jet black, it would have been a lot better. But overall, I liked the drawings themselves, but how I formatted them and got them ready for print was incorrect. All right. Now let's talk about the next thing, the formatting. The formatting. So the formatting, I did not format it myself. The cover formatting, I have zero complaints. It turned out exactly as I had hoped. I like the cover, I really do. But the interior, I was going back and forth and debating what order I wanted the images. So I named them 1 through 25 for the first ones, and then the color invert started 25 through 1, and I named them 26 through 50. so that way the publisher knew what order to put the images in. And I told them the images are page order, so image number 1 is page 1, and so on and so forth. And some of them they got in the right order, and other ones were not in the right order. So there was that, and that's fine. It's not the end of the world having the pages not perfectly in the order you wanted them in, and that is completely fine. It's not ruining the book, but I would have liked to do the images in a slightly different order than they are in the final book. And the second part of formatting is I did not know a ton about printing books and printing quality. So when I wanted it formatted, I wanted the image to take the whole page, entire page, no border on the outside. And I didn't know that it wasn't possible to do that with most publishers. Some publishers can do it, but most publishers won't, or at least print-on-demand publishers won't. Amazon doesn't do it. The other publishers I've looked at for print-on-demand don't do it. They have bleed, so the images only go out so far to the page for printing. I have them make the pages as big as possible, so they do fit on the page entirely, and the gaps between the images kind of just end into it just kind of blends a white pattern into the page border. And in future books, I've fixed this by putting a black border around the image so it contains the whole coloring area. That is more of a personal preference. I don't think it personally ruins the book, but it's just something I've done in future projects. And one thing, formatting, which I think is really good, is each page is printed one-sided. So I wanted it this way because I have had coloring books where I've colored in them with markers, and then it bleeds to the page, and the next coloring page is unusable because it bled. And now it's like I've had that happen with drawings in my sketchbook. I've had it happen a lot. So I wanted each of the pages to be one-sided, and they did do that. It's perfect. The pages are a little thin, so you can see the next page through the paper, which I don't think that it really defeats the book. It's exactly what I wanted with that. So that part of the formatting is good. So I quite like that. Formatting, not bad. A little tweaks I would make. And I guess on to the next point. Okay, section 3. What I want. Did I just pull it up one finger? Section 3. What I would improve. So, and I have actually taken these into account in future books. So on the black and white traditional coloring pages, I would put a border to contain the image, to make it blend nicely. And I already mentioned this in the last section, but to make it feel like it fits on the page. And that way, the fact that the image doesn't take up the whole page doesn't feel weird or awkward or incomplete. So I've taken that into future, into the second coloring book I ever made, and I've taken it into most every project. The reverse coloring book did not really need a border because the background was white and the patterns were, so it wouldn't have made much of a difference. I just didn't do a border on that one. And number 2 is, even though you're eager to like start fiddling around with the formatting, like I get eager, I want to see what these look like, I want to scan these, I want to start formatting. I learned to be patient and do all the work all at once. So I'll do all the drawing, then I'll do all the scanning, then I'll do all the color correction and formatting, because that way, even if like the coloring, like for my second book, the white background wasn't crisp white, it was more of a gray, but it was that kind of off-white gray was consistent through the entire book. So that way it doesn't feel like some pages are printed, it doesn't look like it's a printing error or and it just increases the quality of the book. So from now on, I'm scanning and then I'm doing it all in at once, even if it takes longer to get to the next phase. I'd rather do that than have a million things going at once and not have a consistency throughout the project. And then number 3, what I learned is that sometimes publishers will rush you. I know this is kind of off topic, but this was kind of a rushed publication. I only had one revision to make, and I wanted to get it published as quickly as possible. So a lot of these quality issues kind of just fell through the cracks. I didn't feel like I had time to really iron it out and make it perfect. So those are the 3 lessons that I learned, or 3 of the things I learned from the book. So for my overall review, I'd say it's a decent book. For my first ever time publishing or doing anything, it's serviceable. I think it is all right. But here comes the big thing. I personally would not buy it. The publisher I went through for the book dictated the price. I could say I wanted to sell it for more, but I couldn't say I wanted to sell it for less. My goal was to price point it between $9.99 and $12.99. I thought that was a reasonable price for what it was. And I believe they said the minimum price for this book would be $19.99, and the audiobook would be $9.90 or 99 cents or $3 or whatever it was. And I said, I don't want an audiobook. You can't color an audiobook or a ebook. And they're like, you're getting one anyway. So I don't think it's worth the price. And if I were to recommend one of my books, I would recommend like my reverse coloring book or my second adult coloring book from Amazon KDP, because those are priced, I believe, $9.99 and like $10.99 or $11.99. So they're a lot cheaper and they're a lot higher quality. So overall, I would say book quality is probably a 3.5. Is it worth buying? I personally wouldn't say so, but it's my first book. I plan on republishing it at some point, either once I get a website myself or I'm selling my own books through another publisher, or maybe I'll throw it on Amazon KDP with the rest. We will see. Well, thank you so much for making it this far. If you want to join me on my artist journey, growing, developing, and improving my art style, feel free to like and subscribe. There are other videos on this channel of me drawing. There's a few where I work on my current coloring book project, which is a mini coloring book, I'm really having fun. I just finished a drawing for it less than an hour ago, and I'm just really enjoying the time and energy that goes into these projects. So if you want to join me along the ride for these projects, or just see some interesting art or art commentary content, feel free to stick around. And thanks again for watching, and have a good one.